Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to present our study at the Ateneo School of Government entitled Strengthening Democratic Governance, Countering Malign Foreign Influence and Interference in the Philippines. Okay. So our team is comprised of Rear Admiral Romel Ong, Attorney Neil Silva, who were both presenters yesterday as well, yours truly, and Karen Garcia. We acknowledge the support of the International Republican Institute to the study's completion. So in this project, our primary objective is to provide insights into the Chinese Communist Party's influence operations in the Philippines. Our end goal is to identify potential countermeasures ranging from policy measures to a draft foreign interference law. So the presentation will begin with an overview of the background, including the context of foreign influence operations abroad, the study's framework, and its main argument. The findings are organized to highlight the various levels within the Philippine context where CCP foreign influence operations are evident. This presentation will end with the study's recommendations. Okay. So diplomacy has been a core institution of international relations. Nonetheless, it does not always yield the desired results, as outcomes can also be elusive. In cases where diplomacy falls short of outcomes, overseas covert actions become a promising course for states. While inimicality is not inherent to influence operations, as inferred from this definition, the potential harm arises when influence operations are conducted covertly or manipulatively, especially when they deceive, mislead, or destabilize societal structures for malicious purposes. Among the key states currently under scrutiny for malign foreign influence operations is China. In context, the CCP has been vocal about the need to broaden the government's external propaganda to enhance China's image for the realization of the Chinese dream. President Xi Jinping remarked in 2013 that the government must tell China's story well, implying the significance of foreign influence and interference. As reported by the U.S. National Counterintelligence and Security Center, the CCP toolkit includes various mechanisms. It was widely reported that these overseas operations involve various government agencies and non-traditional Chinese agencies like the United Front Work Department and Confucius Institutes. Additionally, covert actors, including overseas police stations and overseas Chinese service centers, were reported to conduct espionage activities, curb dissent, and facilitate the return of critics to China. Next slide, please. Okay. Political influence is among the key objectives of CCP foreign influence, manifesting in three areas, as noted by a recently published field guide by the International Republican Institute. First is electoral interference, where a notable case is that of the former Solomon Islands Prime Minister, who was heavily supported by the PRC and pushed for the signing of a security pact between the two countries. Subnational governments, the legislature, next slide please, the clicker seems to not be working, and political parties are also targets of Chinese political influence. These operations manifest in sister city partnerships, party-to-party exchanges, and engagements headed by friendship associations and front organizations. Notable foreign cases include that in Kenya and Brazil. Next slide, please. More covert forms of PRC political influence often involve creating a constellation of ostensibly legitimate entities that mask their connections to the CCP and the Chinese government. A notable example of such is in Czech Republic, involving the operations of the China Energy Fund Committee that raised red flags due to corruption, among others. Next slide, please. Against such backdrop, the study used the IRI Field Guide as the framework to examine CCP influence operations and interference in the Philippines, particularly focusing on malign foreign influence and interference. The study operationalizes malign foreign influence as an activity on behalf of a foreign principal, primarily in the form of communication, that seeks or reasonably tends to manipulate, disrupt, infiltrate, obstruct, or control the internal or external policies or affairs of the target state, such as disinformation campaigns and promoting disobedience to the Constitution and laws. On the other hand, the study characterizes foreign interference as an activity beyond mere communication of a verbal, linguistic, or symbolic character through cyber attacks, harassments, and surveillance, among others. With this, the study mainly argues that malign foreign influence and interference threaten Philippine sovereignty and democratic values, underscoring the urgency to adopt legal and policy measures coupled with capacity building at the government level and civil society empowerment. The study used the qualitative method focusing on key informant interviews with representatives from two critical sectors, the government and the academe, along with FGDs. Next slide, please. Moving forward to the findings now, CCP foreign influence operations in the Philippine context are evident in the national level. Looking at the current landscape, these operations manifest in politics and economics as significant national and are even recognized as significant national security threats. However, these activities remain ambiguous and difficult to pinpoint as they occur in bits and pieces and appear on paper as harmless and non-adversarial. These activities are often reinforced by narrative manipulation that favors the CCP. Additionally, instances of elite capture have been observed, such as those involving politicians, some Chinese Filipino organizations, and think tanks. Next slide, please. CCP influence operations have likewise manifested at the subnational level, engaging local government units and educational institutions. Sister city arrangements were noted as entry points of foreign influence since the agreements tend to be vague and broadly worded. It was noted that economic disparities and class divisions are vulnerabilities at the subnational level, with vote-rich areas entering more sister city arrangements. Philippine educational institutions similarly were posited as entry points of foreign influence given their internationalization initiatives. The existence of weak institutional structures has facilitated likewise the illegal issuance of crucial documents like birth certificates and passports, thereby increasing risks of foreign interference. Foreign influence at the subnational level then has economic and political implications. Economic in the sense that investments and other financial incentives are the starting point, such as the case of Philippine offshore gaming operators, but can eventually spill over to the political, as with the allegation of Alice Guo, a former municipal mayor, being a Chinese spy. POGOs likewise can have criminal underpinnings, and with their existing infrastructure, it's likely that they can be used as mechanisms for foreign influence, like troll farms on social media. Fraudulent behavior also poses risks, such as the continued illegal land purchase of foreign nationals using falsified documents or Filipino dummies. Next slide, please. Coercive Chinese foreign lobbying activities have also been increasingly prevalent at the legislative level. A key informant noted instances where the House of Representatives was pressured by Chinese embassy representatives to avoid issuing statements concerning the West Philippine Sea, or at least focus on cooperation in issued statements. Party-to-party diplomacy also was leveraged with activities in the Congress involving China, ranging from sports festivals and formal gatherings to educational sponsorships. With this, the current legislative landscape calls for an interagency collaboration. Next slide, please. With the 2025 midterm elections approaching, concerns about foreign interference likewise arise, with disinformation and manipulation remaining as key vulnerabilities, as well as persistent cyber attacks. Next slide, please. To counter malign foreign influence and interference in the Philippines, various mechanisms are promising, ranging from legislative reforms, investing in intellectual resources, and activating technical civil society organizations to using social cyber forensics. Next slide, please. While the findings show a clear need to counter malign foreign influence and interference, ideally through a foreign interference law, key concerns must be considered, such as those involving the definitions, the law's objectives, the safeguards needed, and its implementation. Next slide, please. Furthermore, areas of vulnerability must be examined, as a legislative overreach can have a significant implication on privacy rights, development work, constitutional protections, and relationships with international organizations. Next slide, please. To conclude, the study has underscored the necessity for a multifaceted approach. And the study's recommendation is classified into twofold. Next slide, please. First, policy measures engaging traditional media organizations and new media content creators to enable literacy campaigns and refute foreign propaganda is critical. Second, further fostering a vigilant public through logic and critical thinking, particularly focusing on the youth, can help better detect and resist foreign-sponsored narratives. Third, mandating disclosure requirements for LGU officials when traveling to specific countries can improve transparency. Next slide, please. This is also connected to the fourth recommendation on strengthening the implementation of asset disclosure, as well as reviewing suspicious assets of elected officials. And fifth, government-led information campaigns, as well as engaging Filipino-Chinese community nationwide, can build resiliency to CCP propaganda and recruitment. And lastly, for the legislation, the draft bill we propose is based on for the foreign influence and interference legislation in Australia, Canada, and Singapore. Covered in the draft bill are the objectives of malign foreign influence, definitions to delineate the act, lobbying activities, and measures to enhance Philippine resiliency vis-a-vis malign foreign influence and interference. The study notes nonetheless that the draft bill aims to provide a synthesis of the inputs gathered and, more importantly, to contribute to the ongoing legislative deliberation and general discourse on countering malign foreign influence and interference, not just in the Philippines, but also globally. With this, I end the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.